One of the most urgent things that's facing us is to be able to vaccinate a lot of people in parallel with high throughput. One way to do this would be using the following idea of a ring buffer. And this is an idea that's very common in computer systems. So this would allow a team of 6 to inject 240 people an hour with very little paperwork and very little overhead. So the idea is to arrange chairs in a circle like this. This is the ring. And as we'll see in a minute, we need about 100 chairs. And the space between two chairs will be 2 meters. So the circumference of this is 200 meters, and so the diameter is going to be approximately 30 meters or about 100 feet. Okay, so instead of drawing the whole system, I'll just draw it like a ring like this. And what happens is that at any point at any point in time, a significant fraction of the ring will be occupied with people, and the rest of it will be slack. There are 2 points that we'll identify, which is the last person to join. The person who joined the latest, we call that over here, we call that the tail. And then here is the head. The head is the person who came in the most earliest and is just ready to leave. So when the next person comes in, they would join at the tail, and then eventually they would become the head because the tail keeps moving in this direction. And then when they become the head, then they would leave. But let's see what happens to somebody who joins with the tail. So let's mark the tail like this. This is the person who just joined at the tail. The first thing that's going to happen is of this team of 6, one of them is going to be the paperwork checker. So the paperwork checker is going to make their way like this, and when they come to the person at the tail, they'll check the paperwork and make sure that that person's paperwork is okay. If they're okay, they're allowed to stay, otherwise they're asked to leave. After this point, the paperwork checker moves to the next person in the ring who will join while this person was waiting. So the tail keeps moving, but we'll just focus on the person who's marked red. A little bit after this, there'll be somebody to come by to help them remove their jacket or shirt or whatever so that their upper armor is exposed. To make sure that the upper armor is exposed and ready for a jab. After this, a team of 3 will arrive, and this team of 3 will be coming with a trolley on wheels. And what this team is doing is that they are going to be 3 people. The first person is going to load the jab, load the injection. The second person is going to actually do the injection. And the third person is going to dispose of the sharp. So when this team of 3 arrives to the tail, the first person who is going to load the injector will do the injection while the injector is waiting, and the injector can then immediately jab the person and hand off the syringe to the disposer who disposes it off. And they go to the next person over here and essentially continue on moving the trolley with the supplies with them. And finally, 15 minutes later, there will be a checker who comes by to make sure that there were no adverse reactions. And when the checker says that the person is okay, then that person would leave. And at that point, the person would actually the person would have become the head at that point, and so they can leave, and therefore the whole ring kind of rotates in this way. So essentially, what happens is this way is that we have a ring. And as I mentioned earlier, a part of the ring is occupied, and people join always at the tail. And the workers move in this direction, and as new people join in, the workers keep joining with them. And of course, when the head meets the tail, the buffer is full. But if you make the big ring large enough, it's not going to happen. So how large does it need to be? Let's assume that we can jab a person in 15 seconds. That means we can do 4 a minute. And if you and therefore we can do 60 in an hour. Sorry, 2 and 40 in an hour. But we need to wait only 15 minutes before somebody needs to go, can leave. So if it's 4 a minute, then in 15 times 4, which is 60, we know that the person is okay. So this length from here to here is going to be 60. And if that's 60 and we have a little bit of slack, we'll need about 100 chairs. And that's about it. So people will come in, they automatically find the tail of the queue, which will be obvious. They'll go sit down. Within a few minutes, somebody will come, check their paperwork. Somebody will come and help them expose their arm. And then the team will come to inject them. And then a few minutes later, somebody will come to check them. And at that point, they can leave. And with this, I believe it should be possible for a team of 6 to inject 2 and 14 an hour, or approximately 2,000 in 8 hours, in an 8 hour day. Of course, if you're willing to work longer, you can do more. And if we were to have, let's say, 10 teams in an arena, we could do about 20,000 jabs a day per in an arena with only a total of 60 people doing the work. Moreover, because it's a ring, it should be possible to have the central disposal of all of the sharps over here. And moreover, it should be possible to keep all the supplies in the center to be handed out to the different parts of the ring as necessary. So I think that this can really help. And I'd be happy to see if there are any questions or problems and that I could help with. Thank you.